Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, so today I have a guest for you. I have Maija Tweeddale. She is a nutritional therapist and health coach. And today we actually talk a lot about how, I suppose, we need to change our feelings towards ourselves to make lasting change. So she says, it's not all about just science and, do these things and you're fine. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed before we'll actually get the results we want, the long-term results. So this is really, really interesting, and I really love her advice at the end as well. So I hope you enjoy. Here's my episode with Maija Tweeddale. Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I have Maija Tweeddale. She is a nutritional therapist and health coach. So I want everyone to welcome Maija to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks, Chrissy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I now work as a nutritional therapist and a health coach, but my backstory is corporate. I had a long history in a very stressful IT job, and eventually my health went pretty south because of all of that. And I started dabbling in health and nutrition and living a better life, I suppose. And as a consequence, I stumbled upon the opportunity to retrain. And so here I am now working primarily as a health coach. I'm a trained nutritional therapist, but actually I perceive that most people get the benefit from the coaching aspect with the nutritional science that backs up, for specific improvements.
So what would you say is the difference between nutritional therapy and health coaching? Just for people who aren't sure, maybe. I think coaching is kind of a word that people don't understand all the time as well.
Yes, and to be fair, not very many people know exactly what a nutritional therapist is either, as opposed to a dietitian or a nutritionist. So the nutritional therapy is about the science of body nutrition. So, and how then you can apply that in a therapeutic context. So recovering from conditions, improving symptoms, nourishing your body to be at its most optimum level. And then that's very sort of scientific and quite biochemistry led, I suppose. And then the health coaching aspect is about behavioral change and helping people to identify roadblocks and work out ways to get over those roadblocks. And that really is where the therapy aspect, I suppose, kicks in. And, the way that you work with somebody as a coach is different from the way you work with somebody as for want of a better word, a scientist. Because, I can tell you all the things that you need to do to be better in your situation, but unless you can actually embed that in your life, it's useless. So the coaching aspect is really about helping somebody to take all of that information that I can impart with them about their particular circumstance and actually work it into their way of living, so it just becomes what they do, and therefore they get the long-term health change benefits as opposed to quick fixes.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point, because I don't know, do you find when clients initially come to you, they kind of go, okay, so what do I do? Tell me what to do. And then instead you're like, no, it's more than just what you do, because if it was just tell you what to do, you'd be doing it.
Yeah, I bet. Although, funnily enough, usually the blokes, they just want me to tell them what to do and give them the 10 steps, and they're pretty good at going away and doing it.
Yeah.
Women, less so, much more talking involved. But that actually is usually very beneficial as well, because that's part of the coaching, is people working out in their own head how to how to change and what their priorities are and why it's important, and whether or not one change matters more to them than another change, and about how to not do everything at once. So while I will, gladly give somebody a 10-step plan and they can go away and work over their 10 steps, most of the time it's not that straightforward. There has to be a level of understanding as to why you're doing it, and really teasing out the what we call, instead of the willpower, the why power. So why do you want to make that change? Why is that future vision of yourself worth achieving?
That is such a better way of wording it.
It makes a huge difference, actually, to the success, to be honest, is when you really sit down and think about why you want to achieve it, and what is your driver. I mean, your driver isn't just to, I don't know, shed a few kilos or get rid of your, belly aches. I mean, what that is an immediate factor, and it's what bothers you right now. But that's not really the reason why you want to make the change. There's always something else. I want more energy for my sport, for my family, or, I want to feel more confident in my ability to present in front of a room full of clients, or, but there's always some other driver there. And it's important to be able to tap into why you want to make the change. And coaches do help you do that.
Yeah, I get that a lot when people come to the gym as well, and it's a lot of, they think they want to lose weight, but there's generally something else. And so you'll always see, for instance, you'll have no better client than a bride with a wedding coming up. They will do everything by the book, but as soon as it's over, it's almost like, right, I'm done now.
That's actually a real tragedy.
That's it. You kind of want to keep them coming after, because it's not just about the dress, it's about your overall health.
Yeah. And that do you remember that program, The Biggest Loser?
Oh yeah.
And almost every single one of those contestants is at their original weight or more, and that's because during that show they had massive amount of support and coaching, and it was really effective. And then but none of that showed them how to carry on their lives in the new way. Such a shame. But that doesn't just apply to weight loss. That actually applies to anything that you're trying to, that has been a problem in your life for a while. That's an embedded habit. Be it pain, be it a mental health issue, whatever, it's stiffness, whatever, that didn't just happen yesterday. And so the unwinding of that and the changing of the way you operate to create a new path is, so it's a long-term pursuit, and you need to be able to work out how to stick at it to get the benefits in the long term.
Yeah, and the thing I suppose as well is it's not linear. Just because you've gotten to a certain point doesn't mean it'll always stay. You will probably have bad days and any form of thing as well, or for one better description, days that aren't the best, I suppose. I don't know, I don't want to say bad, because I hate the whole good and bad food thing or anything like that, but more so maybe days that don't go the way you want them to. But that doesn't mean you're not you're not back at the start. It doesn't undo everything.
No, exactly. One of my clients said to me quite recently, she felt like it was a case of sort of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And, she was feeling a bit frustrated about that. And I said, but let's calculate the number of steps forward you've taken. It isn't linear. We always say that with my clients at the beginning, that it's not a straight line. And there will be things that set you back, because it's actually part of the healing journey as well, as that healing isn't linear. And I suppose that's part of what I help people to understand, is that if you have that sort of expectation of yourself, that's it's a pass or fail expectation, it's really not actually conducive to moving forward at all, because you constantly feel that you didn't make the grade somehow, and that psychologically is quite devastating. and it makes it easier to flick back into whatever situation existed before, because that's where you know what you're doing, and that's where you're kind of comfortable sitting, even if that situation isn't a nice place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. People only change unless their situation is so uncomfortable to bear, isn't it?
But even then, you know, I do come across people fairly frequently who I would describe as sitting in a fur-lined rut. You know, they definitely know they're in a rut, but it's very comfortable there. You know, they have a sofa there and it's nice furry walls, and, you know, whatever, they've got their favorite music playing. And that's them sitting in the bottom of their rut. And it's quite hard to give that up. You know, even though you know intellectually something's got to change, the process by which you drag yourself out of that metaphorical armchair and into a different situation can take some doing. And it's, yeah, you really need the right kind of support around you, I think, to achieve it.
Do you find when it comes to the coaching element, they kind of push back or fight against it, or are they more open to it now than previously, maybe?
Oh, it's, yeah, it's very useful. I mean, the feedback that I get from that is far superior to when I was just working in the kind of science capacity, because that's where people make sustained change, you know, and it's through the process that I use that just makes it very simple to do. And, you know, a lot of times people say to me, I thought it would be way more complicated than this, and I thought you would make me give up, you know, my favorite whatever. And, you know, sometimes I do, to be fair. Sometimes their favorite thing isn't great and it does need to go. But the process by which they come to that conclusion is through working bit by bit and just seeing the very immediate benefits, and then the taking those positive steps, and that reinforces the, you know, tapping into the why power again. And you know, and then the change isn't hard, really. So, you know, it definitely works way more effectively to have that coaching aspect than to just saying, okay, you've come to me with, you know, IBS, and here are all these anti-inflammatory things to help your gut. You know, it's I suppose those people also come with the right approach, and that they are not trying to find a pill for an ill, because human bodies don't work like that. There is no silver bullet. There is no miracle pill. There's plenty of things that can assist you in a healing process, and it's all of those things coming together that give you the end result. And, you know, when you're doing it through a kind of a coached process, I suppose we're looking at all the different aspects of what make up you, not just you physically, but, you know, what's the environment that your body exists in terms of the, you know, the stress that you're under, or the life load. You know, how many balls are you juggling, and what sort of toxins are you exposed to? And that's not just, you know, environmental toxins or plastics, for example. It's, you know, it's negative thoughts, and those can be your own negative thoughts or someone else's negative thoughts. You know, it's just, where do you sit in a closed space all day long? You know, that's toxic, right? You know, have you moved into a new house? That's actually toxic. All the stuff they stick into furnishings and walls and whatever, you know, it takes a while to gas that out. So I suppose, you know, when you're working in a coached program, you cover all of those, because you can't just take a pill to solve all of those things. It really is a bit by bit, but it was, yeah, phenomenally useful to look at it like that, and to approach every aspect that goes into making up somebody's wellness. You
Yeah.
really can make huge, huge strides.
Imagine how much money you'd make if there was a pill. If you created that pill.
I can tell you it won't be you or I creating that pill. It'll be some big pharmaceutical company.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness knows that tipping enough money into trying to find it.
It'd be boring anyway. Like, it's more fun doing like exercise and moving and stuff. Or I think so anyway.
I think so. That's one of the things that I always work with people on, regardless of what they come to me for, is finding the joy. Because humans are naturally joyful creatures. We're driven by pleasure. We're hedonistic, and that finding that pleasure is so key to just being well. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference to your pain tolerance, for example. It makes a difference to your interactions with other people. It makes a difference to how you sleep. It's just finding the joy is so key to wellness, and it's something that we kind of put on the last thing on the task list. Oh, we've got this and this and this, and also we need to find the joy.
Well, let that. Be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, check. Well, I was happy for a minute today. Tick, done.
Yeah,
that.
that'll do.
Yeah, and it really doesn't work like that. But finding that joyful process and how you live your life with ease, and you move with ease, and you feel light in your mind, and you know that you're in tune with how your body functions, and you can sort of feel when stuff is going off. I suppose that's the other aspect, and sort of it's the opposite now of the whole joyful, is the situation that many of us are in, is that we've lost touch with how we are in our skins. And we're all very conscious of our oh, I'm very stressed today, or I feel anxious, or those kind of quite heightened responses. But actually, when you're sort of sitting in that more peaceful, joyful space, you can actually feel your body working. It's kind of strange. It's almost like just sitting back, relaxing, you can feel your heart beating, but you can sort of, there's an energy that, it's a sensation you can tap into. You can definitely feel it. And many of us have lost that ability. But that's about coming back and finding that peace, finding that joy. And, the body is an incredible machine. If you give it the right environment to exist in, one of which is being calm and joyful and able to have a nice pleasurable experience in your life, then it comes back into balance, even when you're carrying some kind of illness or strain of some kind. You can still get back to that place where you're feeling in tune and you understand your body, and then it's self-compassion, really. And knowing that you have the power within your skin to solve everything that's wrong with you. You absolutely do. And once you start nourishing your body and your mind in the right way for you, because the right way for me is different from the right way for you, for example, then stuff just starts to come together really in a very nice, powerful way.
Yeah.
It really is quite incredible, all of that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I like the way you say that. Like, do you think there's any reason, like you're absolutely right, people have lost the ability to kind of find the joy naturally, or kind of be in tune with their body? That one's for sure. Like, you can see it. Like, say for instance, there's a rough example when I'm trying to teach people in the gym, even just knowing what muscle they're supposed to be moving or being able to feel it, like, is almost really difficult for them. But do you think there's any reason they've kind of lost that, or would we say it's a combination of things, or in your opinion, obviously?
Oh, Yeah, well, that's certainly a topic I could rant on for some more minutes.
I love a good rant.
Yeah, we. Oh, look, there's so many ways that we've kind of become a bit dulled, and it's because those things that humans naturally derive satisfaction and pleasure from are now very artificially generated. Screens, for example, Frankenfood, which is basically anything you buy in a packet. Food manufacturers have been aware of this for decades, and processed food is an absolute scourge and really deadens us to life as it should be. Screens do the same because it's tapping into all the, it's using our natural body function and our sort of natural processes, but in a much more heightened way. And as a consequence, the highs are high and the lows, therefore, are really low. And that isn't, that isn't how we naturally exist.
Yeah.
We naturally exist in a balanced and structured way, and this kind of rushing around, taking our relaxation in the form of some kind of stimulant, be that, television, be it loud music, be it exercise, like overtraining, that's also very stimulating, alcohol, like modern life. And I'm not talking about anybody that's got necessarily a problem with any of those things, because there definitely are people who do all those things, or some of them to excess, and that is problematic. But even in, the way you or I might come home at the end of a long day and think, oh, I'm bushed, I'll just, sit in front of the TV. And on one hand, that is to some degree a way of sitting and taking stock, but it's not restful. And because we've sort of lost that ability to regulate our rest, it's the regulation of our highs and lows, I think, is really what it's come down to. And this is, in my view, largely driven through this modern life we've created, which is really not how we should be.
Yeah, no, you're right, because I think everything, in a sense, lives on extremes. So it's very hard to bring people back to, let's just be normal, or let's be calm, or...
Yeah, and, in the circumstance that you exist in, plenty of people will be coming to you with great training goals that require them to push themselves, to the limit, must achieve. And I certainly deal with people who are comparing themselves to a magazine cover. It's not being in that realm of over expectation. I don't know if is it really over expectation. We should all obviously exist with good expectations for ourselves. That's part of what drives us forward. But it's the excess, I think, that is the problem, and the comparison nature that we exist in as well. I'm actually in the middle of writing a blog about comparisons because it's a problem, And I've noticed as a foreigner coming here to Ireland, that particularly among women, although it's not restricted to women, but it's quite common to be in a conversation where everybody is in a very sort of empathetic and friendly way, one-upping each other on how stressed they are, how many times their child's been to the hospital, how much, how many hours they've spent running around looking after everybody else, all of which are things that we want to be able to do and naturally should do, but what you do is completely irrelevant to what the next person does. And by making a comparison, does neither of you any favors. And it kind of creates this, it's fuel for this really heightened state of overexcitement, I think. And by that, I don't mean that those kind of conversations are exciting. I just mean that you're getting, there's an anxiety that comes with that. There's a feeling of, I have to do. You keep writing the task list, and it just goes on and on. I mean, one of the things I get clients to do usually is write the task list. It's just off the top of their head, what's on their task list. And then I tell them to rip it in half. And literally screw up the bottom half and throw it out. And because anything that hasn't made it into the top 4 items on the task list really is not a priority. There's only so much you can do in the day. So, I suppose it's just about trying to, it's coming back to us sort of finding the tune that we are each responsible for in our own bodies, and coming back into resonance with that, and realizing that you can do the very best that you can do for yourself. And that's it, that's what you have control over. And trying to achieve someone else's ideal, even if you think it's your ideal, you have to really question, is it my ideal, or is it that I'm being persuaded in some way by someone or something else? But taking stock of that and saying, is that really what my driver is, and is it actually serving me? And probably it's not. And that's not to say that you should find a way to carry on in your own circumstance, right? Because you might need something to shift. There's probably very good reasons why you should take stock of where your health is and how you can move it forward. But that doesn't need to be in comparison to anybody else.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I actually put a few things on my stories earlier about comparing to people, and I was just doing a certain exercise, and I was like, because people are looking at it and go, oh my God, I can never do that. And I'm like, well, have you tried ever? Do you actually want to be able to do that, or did you just see someone doing it? And 3, like that, how can you plan if you want to be able to do it, because this thing took me months to be able to do. And I just think it's good, because I get that, like, you do get that a lot, like, oh, I could never do that. I think that's a sentence is very popular over here.
I can never do that. Yes, everybody can do everything, really. It's well, within physiological balance, perhaps, but do you want to? Do you need to? Why are you doing it? And sometimes it's worth pursuing, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But coming back into balance with yourself is so key. To not only is it key for your well-being, I mean, it's fundamental for your well-being, but actually it's quite fundamental to kind of getting to the top of whatever game you want to be at the top of. Understanding how you function and what circumstances allow you to function best is quite key. And you will be the best possible version of yourself if you get that right.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Guaranteed.
I feel like I'm kind of in that like situation where I am now, because I'm like in my early 30s, so lots of people are like, buying houses and having kids and all this and getting married, and it's like almost like you have to do that right now. And it's like, do you? What I feel like, because all my friends are aside from college are now in kind of corporate jobs, whereas like I'm the only one who's like going rogue and still trying to be self-employed, and you're like, yeah, I could get this, I suppose, the cushy thing, but
yeah, you have to be true to yourself. You still have to pay the bills as well, of course.
Well, there's that too, yeah. I do still work.
Yeah, that's rather the drag of being self-employed, isn't it? You still have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
The lofty goals of saving the world one person at a time does need to come with an income.
I suppose, well, for you, like you went from a job in IT, which I suppose would be kind of considered like no one leaves that kind of job, everyone kind of, that's a good career. Like, how is that, like, moving out of IT into obviously something you enjoy?
Oh, that was a good career. I mean, if I look at it from the sort of, I suppose, again, if I put this into the external context of things that should motivate somebody, it ticked all the boxes. You know, I was a senior woman in a big organization that was contributing massively to the economy of the country, you know, and it was a great place to work. You know, there was plenty of opportunities, and you know, I was well looked after in that regard, but mainly because they were interested in equal employment opportunities. So that was definitely helped. But sure, nearly killed me, you know, and I took too long to realize that. I was in a bad state. And it was because I had lost sight of what gave me the joy, you know. I tell you, stepping away from a 6-figure salary was hard.
I can imagine,
yeah. That took some, you know, years of mental recovery. But it was the right thing to do, because I wouldn't be, well, firstly, I wouldn't be doing what I am doing now, but also I wouldn't be very well. Like, I would have very easily gone down the path of rack and ruin in my physical health, and probably my mental health as well, carrying on there. And that's not to say that every job in IT is like that. You know, it's not. It was the circumstance that I existed in at the time, and I didn't really think there was anything wrong with it. You know, I would, for sure, as I was in my 20s, and you know, sure, aren't we all bulletproof in that decade? You know, and a hard day at the office, which would be potentially 14 hours long, was finished off by a hard session of aerobics at the gym, and then, you know, sitting around drinking wine with my pals to unwind. And that was a grand life for a 20-year-old, or so it seemed. That was all the trappings of success. But I was pretty rapidly going down the sinkhole, and it culminated in some kind of nasty health conditions. And it's lucky that I woke up to it, to be honest, because plenty don't. And you know, interestingly enough, one of the things that woke me up to that, because I was feeling pretty miserable, you know, I wasn't well, and I wasn't well on a regular basis, so it wasn't great existence, but I just sort of thought I was kind of normal, and I just sort of kept going, and plus I was very busy. But then my friend asked me to be her support for a bodybuilding competition that she was entering, and she did very well in that competition, and we, you know, I helped her to choreograph her dance routine, and you know, I covered her in bronzer for the, you know, show, and all of that stuff. But oh my goodness, did she lose serious amount of body function by doing that. And that really made me think that that was the zone that we were in, right? You know, we were young, we were really into fitness, which was sold as a great thing. But the extreme way we were going about that, the extreme hours at work, the extreme hours in the gym, it was pretty stark, actually, about in the end, about how bad that was. And seeing, for me to see her stripped down to some stupidly low body weight. I mean, she was, well, I'm sure you've seen people like that too. Literally nothing but muscle. And like I say, she did very well in the competition because she looked, you know, she ticked lots of the boxes there. But she really badly suffered from that.
Yeah.
And it really just hit home to me that this is not right. You know, we shouldn't be doing this ourselves.
Yeah, I find that kind of...
So that was when I started sort of turning myself around, really, and looking for alternatives.
Okay. And did that kind of brought you to the nutritional therapy then?
Yeah, well, it started off, I was just doing it for myself, trying to, and it was very hit and miss. And sure, this is the early days of the internet as well, so I don't know what kind of rubbish was on there. Probably, I don't know, is it more or less rubbish that's on there now? But maybe the percentage of rubbish is still the same, but just there was less of it. But I spent a lot of hours in the library looking at, you know, various books, and I did some pretty extreme things to try and recover This is the problem with the health and wellness industry, actually, is it's just as exposed to influence as everything else, and you get your celebrity diets and, I don't know, the diet that your favorite uncle's glamorous wife is on, and, and that will work for me too. And it's not how it works. And it's, at best, you get a short-term gain. It's not a sustainable strategy ever. And, I was at a point once where I was just eating chicken and broccoli.
I think we've all done that at some point. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't quite get that far, but like I would do keto for like 3 days a week and then go drinking at the weekend. It's just like, you look back and you're like, you were never in ketosis.
I'm afraid you nicely undid any possible benefit of that ketosis by doing that.
Me, I'm like, what the hell was I doing? I love carbs. I will never give up carbs again.
Yeah. Well, and plenty of women can't give up carbs, because it really messes with your hormones. I suppose the key again, though, is balance. It's not like we humans thrive in homeostasis, and homeostasis is your body being in balance. That there's so many ways that your body will maintain a balance, and at the expense of some other body functions, by the way, because there's core functions that your body will support regardless. And it's kind of called the triage effect, basically. So your bits of you start shutting down in order to preserve the bits that are key to you remaining alive. And that's not a good zone to actually thrive in. I mean, you'll possibly not die, but you won't be living well.
Yeah. I think one of the real obvious ones that is like women like losing their periods and stuff like that, and they're like, this is grand, I don't have to deal with that. And you're like, no. That's a really, really important function. You want that to work every month the way it's supposed to.
Oh yeah. And it's not just about having babies. I mean, obviously that is the physiological purpose, but it's so much more than that. And you don't want to mess with hormones. Hormones are critical, and you want them to be functioning well and all working together. And again, it comes down to balance. I suppose that's another thing that we're sort of stuck in the zone with now, is so many people with variety of hormone imbalances, plenty of which are sort of being, I don't know, I'm going to say treated in inverted commas with hormone medication. And there are some people who genuinely need that. Absolutely, their situation is extreme and hard to recover from, but for the most part, your diet and lifestyle changes will solve hormone issues quite readily, because your body wants, again, it's this amazing machine, it wants to be in balance. And the minute you start nourishing yourself in a way that allows that freedom of all of the cells in your body to balance, then you get well. It just happens. And I've actually had clients say, oh, it's amazing, it's like I was never sick. Yeah, it is that transformational. And they can't believe that it was so easy to achieve in the end.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying that earlier, that like it should be, they feel like it should be more complex, and that's always fine. Like, balance is really hard to sell, or the fact that, like, to improve your fitness, you could go for 10-minute walks 7 days a week. You don't have to do hikes and all this stuff. Like, it can be that easy. And they're like, but no, it has to be difficult, because I have to, like, starve myself for 3 weeks and then eat a lettuce leaf because that's what they said in the magazines. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Getting there is that complicated.
Yeah, that rather increases the complication. Restrictive restrictive diets are really a problem. And your body doesn't do well with nutrient deficiency in any way. Like the only thing, no, I'm gonna put a caveat there. The only thing you should be deficient in is trans fat and processed food. You should be deficient in those. And sugar. I'll throw sugar in there too.
I like sugar.
Fake nutrients. And if you have excess of those fake nutrients, then funnily enough, your body is going into deficiency in all the other things that maintain your health. Just to fight, and it's coming back to this triage, your body is fighting that load of nothingness and using up essential functioning enzymes and nutrients in order to fight that battle, and the consequent inflammatory processes that stem from it. So you're making yourself even more deficient in that way.
No, it's interesting as well.
Vicious circle.
Yeah, and even what you're saying as well about the like people taking like hormone medication, like it's kind of like it's your easy fix. It'll slap a band-aid on it, but if you like that, like your client saying, like it feels so transformational, but it takes a while to get there. So it's normally like, it's a good couple of weeks, maybe longer, before you're like, one day you're just like, wait a minute, that doesn't hurt anymore, or I feel better today.
I get my clients who are on the longer term program to do to rate themselves on a symptom severity scale. So they choose their top 3 things that they want to resolve, and then we just have a little rating system that every now and then we check in and say, where are you rating on this? And it's their own rating, so it's up to how they feel. And that is because people forget that they were so much in pain or in discomfort or inconvenienced by some particular problem. And they forget so quickly when stuff starts changing. So it's really actually, and it's part of this, I suppose, coming back to this, the why you're doing it, to remind yourself why, and then to see that drove change and that stuff is going away. You're on the right track, and it is very, I suppose we're kind of naturally conditioned to do that as well. And particularly women in our busy modern society are conditioned to say, right, done that, on to the next thing, never to stop and say, hey, you know what? I'm pretty great. I deserve my Wonder Woman costume today. And we're not good at doing it, at stopping to say, well done. So that's why I get them to do this process, and invariably there is forgetfulness. I'm like, was I really that bad? Yep. These were your exact words.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny how you're saying about them not thinking about coming how far they've come on, because like the minute you'd have like an off day or something go wrong, like it's like straight away, like I'm a terrible person. Like, you don't notice how far you've come, but a minute you've got like your one step back, you're like, no, that's it.
Yeah, and that I don't know, it's hard. The only way you can overcome that is to know why you're moving in the first place, and to look back in a structured way, and not to look back so that you fixate on, oh, but there was the time when this, and oh, but there was that particular moment, but to look back in an impartial way and say, this has been the process, and these have been the steps forward, and these have been the steps sideways, because sometimes there are sideways steps. There's actually nothing wrong with that. Sideways is growth as well. It's just perhaps growth outside of the scope that you had anticipated. But these are the ways I can see empirically how I've moved forward. And that way we're looking at positive steps rather than oh yeah, I had a bad day and I went straight back to doing whatever. I can guarantee if you have this bad day, but you've been working towards a sort of a changing the way that you're functioning, you probably had that bad day with a nice little dose of some good things too, because those things have become habits, new ways of doing. And you can really then say, actually, I did have that bad day, but it wasn't as bad because these were actually the things that I did just naturally now that made it still actually a good day on reflection.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I think as well, I don't know, I find people forget as well a lot of the time that they're human, because I'll have people in the gym and they're like, geez, I just can't do anything today or whatever, or I don't feel great or whatever. And you're like, yeah, no, don't worry. That's just being human. How did you sleep? How did this? How did it? Like, it's not that you're not good at exercise anymore. It's just, this could be 10 other things.
Mm.
At least you've confirmed you're not a robot.
Yeah, exactly. And how you exist every day is so dependent on all of those factors that that I talked about before, your life load and the stress that you're under, and how well did you sleep, and did you skip breakfast the day before, just simple things that change from day to day and do impact how you exist in the world around you. But you know what, if you come back to finding your personal balance and being in tune with how your body functions, actually you can write those out much more easily. I suppose, as well as I think I mentioned it before, it's self-compassion. When you don't let yourself off, so to speak, because if you've got a goal, you've got a goal, and you're working towards it, and you don't say, oh, well, just today I won't bother with the goal, but you kindly say to yourself, I'm still focused on my goal, and I recognize that I need a day off, say, or today some other things knocked me sideways, but I'm still focused on my goal and I'll get back on track, Yeah. And honestly, if you have a bad day, I suppose the rule of thumb that I try to counsel people with is never miss twice. Whatever your thing is that you're trying to aim for, everybody misses the thing that they were doing, right? They said they would go and run 10K and they only managed 3 or whatever, they said they weren't going to have the glass of wine with dinner and they did. Everybody does that. That's perfectly normal. But if you remind yourself with compassion that you are focused on your goal, then you won't do it the second time, right? You'll get back on track and you'll be motivated to continue on because you can. You can get back on track. You know that everybody has the blips. It's perfectly normal. And yeah, just try and never miss twice.
Yeah.
Bad days happen to all of us. And, I'm not perfect either. God forbid if there were a fly on the wall in my house sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. I'm sure people would go, what? But, you get back on track. And on the whole, you find the joy. You know your reason for heading towards whatever your goal is. And you give yourself pats on the back for the times when you either did really well and you were really delighted, or the times when you faced adversity and you did get off track, but you recognize that and you work out what the steps are to get back, right? That's also worth celebrating.
That's a really good point as well. Because it's not always about winning, but if you learn as well, like, you're still winning. We actually ended up going on a completely different tack to what we'd originally planned, but that's totally grand.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was
We
good. It was really interesting. But one more question for you. I didn't tell you about this one because I never tell anyone about it. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, best piece of advice.
You can pick 3 if you need.
I think I've been given loads of good advice, most of which I implement, but right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of any of it. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I think love yourself.
Yeah.
Know that you are worthy, because that's the route to doing anything positive for yourself, is knowing that you are worth it.
That is really, really good piece of advice. Really simple, but it's so true. And probably the reason people don't look after themselves a lot of times, they don't believe they're worth it.
Yeah. But you are worth it. I am worth it. We are all worth it. And everybody can go over that little mantra. Yes. 5 times every morning. There you go. That's my little freebie. 5 times every morning in front of the mirror. In front of the mirror is important. Don't say it to thin air. Say it to yourself in front of the mirror. You feel like a real idiot, to be honest. But do it nonetheless.
I'm glad you were honest about that and said that.
Oh, yeah. But you have to smile and you have to say, I am with it. 5 times.
Yeah. That is everyone who's listening's assignment now for the next 2 weeks at least, if not longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you can write a post on this podcast to say whether or not you felt like it to it, but whether or not it made a difference.
True. So I just want to say thanks for joining us today, but before we go as well, where can everybody find you?
Oh, great. Yes, I can be found. So my website is www.foundationhealth.ie. That's all one word, Foundation Health. And all my contact details are on there. So that's a good place to go. Yeah, do look me up. I'm all about trying to make it easy for people to achieve what they want in their health. And it's literally saving the world one person at a time.
Yeah. No, look, the more people know that it's actually not a nightmare to do, the more people will actually try it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And as ever, guys, you can find me on... So I have 2 Instagrams. One is my Chrissy H Fitness one, or my horse riding one is Strong in the Saddle with an underscore. I'm on TikTok at Strong in the Saddle without the underscore. And then my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. So yeah, just want to say thanks again for joining us today, Maija.
Thanks, Chrissy. That was a great chat.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.